Well, the royal family, they've got a unique opportunity. In fact, they are the world's most iconic family, and there's absolutely no doubt they take every advantage of it. We've had the Christmas cards, they've had the festive lunch, the extended royal family at Buckingham Palace, and what they do, they arrive the day before in order of seniority. That is when, in Germanic tradition, because the Christmas tree, for example, brought into England by Queen Charlotte, but made popular by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. They put the finishing touches on the tree. They open their presents. This is what they do in Germany. On the Christmas Eve, then there's a black tie dinner, and then on Christmas Day, and this is the second worldwide people show interest in it, and that is they go on a walk to St Mary Magdalene Church. And this is where we see the royal family in advance, of course, of the King's Christmas message, which goes to the Commonwealth and the nation at 3 o'clock. But also what you have is a dissemination very often of its contents in various forms. So we don't all as a nation sit down at 3 as a lot of us once used to. Some of us do, some of us not. But on the other hand, they make sure that in the King's own words, they get the message across.
But what about Harry and Meghan? Because I don't think they were invited. They're going to be staying in California. I'm not sure they would have come anyway. I'm just wondering, are they likely to do a Christmas message? Did they do one last year? Did they communicate between each other, giving them their happy Christmas wishes?
Well, for example, everyone has been shown some interest, for example, in birthday greetings and so on. Do they exchange them? And it appears the royal practice is to acknowledge non-working royals only on very, very special days. As far as whether or not they exchange Christmas cards, and I mean, for example, it's reported that William and Harry haven't spoken in over 3 years. Now, is that still the case? Has there been private communication? We know that Harry came over and we know he saw King Charles, but equally, I think you would agree with me that if the Sussexes came to Sandringham for Christmas, something they wouldn't wish as far as I know, and I don't think the royal family would because they don't trust them with good reason, I think it would be rather a stressful occasion, don't you?
Well, I don't think I'd want them around my house, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Well, of course, you never know which television company they might talk to about their experiences when they were visiting you. This is one of the problems, of course.
The royal family has a unique opportunity. They are the world's most iconic family, and there's no doubt they take full advantage of that status. We've seen the Christmas cards, the festive lunch, and the extended royal family gathering at Buckingham Palace. Traditionally, they arrive the day before Christmas in order of seniority. This follows a Germanic tradition. The Christmas tree was brought into England by Queen Charlotte and later popularised by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. The family puts the finishing touches on the tree and opens their presents on Christmas Eve, as is customary in Germany. That evening includes a formal black-tie dinner. On Christmas Day, the tradition that draws global attention takes place: the walk to St Mary Magdalene Church. This public appearance happens ahead of the King's Christmas message, which is broadcast to the nation and the Commonwealth at 3 p.m. While not everyone sits down to watch it live anymore, the message is carefully disseminated in various forms to ensure its themes are widely received. The conversation then turns to Harry and Meghan. They were not invited and are expected to remain in California, though it's unclear whether they would have attended even if invited. Questions arise about whether they issue Christmas messages, whether they did so last year, and whether there is any private exchange of holiday wishes between them and the royal family. There has been public curiosity about birthday greetings and whether such acknowledgements are exchanged. The apparent royal practice is to recognise non-working royals only on very special occasions. As for Christmas cards, reports suggest William and Harry haven't spoken in over 3 years. Whether private communication has occurred remains unknown. While Harry did visit the UK and see King Charles, the idea of the Sussexes attending Christmas at Sandringham is widely regarded as unlikely. Such a visit would likely be stressful, and there appears to be a lack of trust between the parties. Some commentators openly admit they wouldn't want Harry and Meghan in their own homes, citing fears that their experiences might later be shared with television companies. This concern highlights a long-standing tension between the Sussexes and the royal household, one that has played out publicly many times. The discussion then pivots to a broader critique of how British media treats Harry and Meghan. A recent segment on GB News is described as revealing not for what it says about the Sussexes, but for what it exposes about the British tabloid ecosystem. Rather than journalism or balanced commentary, the segment is framed as a carefully orchestrated performance designed to portray Harry and Meghan as villains and the royal family as innocent victims. This narrative collapses under scrutiny. The segment relies heavily on assumptions, anonymous sources, emotional language, and personal opinions presented as fact. Statements such as "they can't be trusted" or "I wouldn't want them in my house" are opinions, not evidence, yet they are used to justify exclusion and hostility. The headline, "Harry's Christmas Snub," is particularly misleading. The word snub implies rejection after an attempted inclusion, yet there is no evidence Harry and Meghan asked to attend Christmas at Sandringham, expected an invitation, or wanted to be there. On the contrary, they have spent years establishing their own traditions in California, prioritizing privacy and rejecting performative royal appearances. The segment also features Richard Fitzwilliams, presented as a neutral royal commentator. However, his long-standing alignment with the monarchy and consistent hostility toward Harry and Meghan undermine that portrayal. He spends considerable time praising royal traditions and pageantry, as though longevity and ceremony automatically confer moral authority. But tradition is not morality. Longevity is not virtue. Ritual does not equal righteousness. The British press often conflates ceremony with substance, and this is a key flaw in the narrative. Harry didn't abandon Christmas lunch, Sandringham, or the royal walk to church. He left an institution that refused to protect his wife from racist abuse, refused to challenge harmful media narratives, refused to correct lies, and demanded silence in exchange for access. That context is consistently erased. Claims that the royal family doesn't trust Harry and Meghan ignore the fact that trust is reciprocal. It was not Harry and Meghan who leaked stories, briefed against family members, or allowed false narratives to flourish. Yet they're labelled untrustworthy, a position that requires extraordinary mental gymnastics to maintain. What is really being communicated is that Harry and Meghan no longer follow the unwritten rules of silence. They no longer accept abuse quietly or protect the institution at the expense of their own well-being. That refusal makes them dangerous to those who rely on narrative control. This is not about trust. It's about fear of accountability. One of the most revealing moments in the clip is the remark, "I wouldn't want them around my house." This isn't analysis, it's character assassination. The implication that Harry and Meghan are socially toxic or predatory is reinforced by suggestions they would secretly sell family stories to television networks. In reality, they gave one major interview explaining their departure, participated in one documentary, and Harry wrote one memoir after years of silence. Meanwhile, the British press has published thousands of stories about them, many false or defamatory. Yet Harry is portrayed as the one who talks too much. This is projection, not analysis. The fixation on whether they send Christmas cards or birthday messages isn't about etiquette, it's about narrative control. The royal family relies on symbolic gestures and stage unity to project harmony without addressing real conflicts. Harry's refusal to participate in that system is framed as defiance because it disrupts the illusion. Claims that Harry and Meghan's presence would be stressful beg the question, stressful for whom? For those who fear accountability, unresolved harm, or loss of narrative control. Notably absent from these conversations is any sign of stress from Harry and Meghan themselves. They are not issuing statements or complaining publicly. They are simply living their lives with their children. The segment ends with a cruel remark about Meghan's father, delivered as a joke. This tactic weaponizes personal trauma to undermine credibility, ignoring documented boundary violations and tabloid collaborations. It is not commentary, it is contempt. If Harry and Meghan were truly irrelevant, their absence wouldn't dominate headlines. Irrelevance doesn't require obsessive coverage. The truth is, they represent something the institution cannot control, proof that leaving is possible, that life outside the monarchy can be whole, peaceful and successful. Christmas becomes a battleground not because of tradition, but because of what it symbolizes. Sandringham is a stage, and Harry's refusal to perform on it is framed as betrayal. From another perspective, it looks like healthy boundaries, a man protecting his children from the same machinery that destroyed his mother. This is not a Christmas snub. It is a media tantrum disguised as tradition. It is an institution struggling with the loss of narrative control. And the more aggressively that narrative is pushed, the clearer its insecurity becomes.